Hey guys, what's up? So I get asked a lot of questions in general about tracking macronutrients. So let me be real clear that this isn't a video about how to calculate how much macros you should have, like how much protein, carbs, or fats. This is a video on how to actually track it and try to be relatively accurate with it. Because if you're going to count and track your macros, you want to try to be as accurate as possible while you're doing it. So I've had multiple people ask me questions on what is the best way to do this, and there are multiple different ways that it can be done. I just want to show you what I think is one of the easier ways and the ways that I tend to do it myself. And I'm in no shape, way, or form saying that counting macros is a necessity or counting calories is a necessity. It works great for some people it does not. All right. That being said, I would recommend that you use an app on your phone. You can write things down, you can use Excel spreadsheets. There's multiple different ways of actually tracking your macros, but I highly recommend that you use an app. It makes things way easier. There's multiple apps out there that you can use. The one that I tend to lean towards, the one that I like the most, that works the best for me, is called Cronometer. So it's one of those that you can download from the App Store. I think it's like $3.99 if you purchase it once. It's just the one that I typically like to use. Again, if you use a different one, MyFitnessPal or Lose It app or anything along those lines, they all work well. So this is just the one that I prefer. Whenever you're doing this and you're trying to track your macros, it's very important that you get a scale. You really need to weigh and measure out everything that you have. So, you can pick one up at Walmart, any of your local grocery stores, anything along those lines. The one that I use is this one here. It's just a digital basic scale that I picked up. It takes me an extra 3 to 4 minutes a day to measure out my meals as I'm kind of prepping my food and everything. So this way I know exactly how much of everything I'm taking in. If you're just kind of trying to eyeball your food and you're not really measuring it out, it's going to be really, really hard for you to know exactly how much you got in. Because if you've got some type of a calorie dense food, say like peanut butter, if you take in and you think that it's on somewhere around 2 tablespoons, it's really easy to go over or under and be off by 50, 60 calories, which can add up if that's done multiple times throughout the day. So it's really important that you are really weighing and measuring out everything that you have instead of trying to eyeball stuff if you're trying to be as accurate as possible whenever you are calculating your macros. The easiest way for me to go about this, in my opinion, is to just show you what I'm eating today for lunch and show you how I'm tracking everything and measuring it and weighing it out. It'll take me a couple of extra minutes than what it normally does because I'm showing it for video purposes, but typically I spend, maybe an extra 60 to 90 seconds weighing everything and measuring it for my lunch. So I'm going to show you all the things that I'm doing today for my lunch and how I'm calculating it in and making it as accurate as possible and putting it into my Cronometer app. So today I'm actually going to be eating a hamburger patty. I'm a huge fan of ground beef and steaks. Love that, can eat it every day. Did a little grilling. I've already grilled my burger and I've already pre-measured that because that was already prepped earlier over the weekend. With that being said, what I'm going to do is I've got a burger patty with a slice of cheese on it, a little bit of barbecue sauce and some watermelon. So the first thing to do is just start tracking every single piece of food. Anything that contains calories, you need to make sure that you put into your app whenever you're doing the tracking. And most of the trackers, depending upon which ones you use, should have scanners on them. So you can actually scan the barcodes and then it will pull all the macronutrients off of exactly what you're eating. Because here's the thing, like I'm putting a slice of cheese on my burger patty. I don't want to just put that I ate 1 slice of cheese. That's way too general. The type of cheese, the amount, how much it weighs, all these things go into a factor because not all cheeses are the same, not all serving sizes are the same. So it's very important that we're using the macronutrients listed on the specific food that you're eating. So like I'll give you an example. The cheese that I chose is just a Sargento sliced cheese. It's a Colby pepper jack. Again, this is not me telling you what to eat or how to eat. This is just how to count the macros. So I don't want to get into any debates on beef or why there's cheese or anything like that. All right. So for this one, if I pull up my app, as soon as I pull up my app, the first thing that I'm going to want to do is just go to the day that I'm on and open up my scanner because I need to add in my food. So I'm going to open up my scanner, and as soon as I open up my scanner, I'm just going to hold it. There's a barcode on the back. I'm going to hold it up over the barcode, and whenever I do, it's automatically going to bring up everything from this specific type of cheese. And it says on here, it'll show you, it says it's got a serving size that I can change, and it tells me exactly how much is in it. And now this breaks the serving size down by slice, which is great, because all I did was took 1 slice and put it on my burger. So I'll just put in 1 slice and click add serving. So if I was to do more than one, I could put 2 slices. That way it's very specific to the exact type of cheese that I'm putting on here. So you want to add that in there, all right? The next thing is going to be for the burger patty itself. Now here's the thing, depending upon where you buy your meat, or it's possible that it may not even have a barcode on it. And if it does have a barcode, sometimes things like meat that, you know, it's not the same store to store, won't always show up in these apps. So sometimes you have to put things in manually. So for this meat specifically, again, this is a 90-10 sirloin ground beef is what I picked up. You know, and if I look on the back, it'll say in 4 ounces, it's got this much fat, this much carbs, this much protein. So I actually added and created that in my app because I'm going to be eating that type of beef on a regular basis because it's one that I like. So I added that in there. So for that, now whenever I add in 6 ounces, I'll add in 6 ounces of this specific beef that I added and named in. So I can go in and specifically just open it up because I saved it. So when I add in the food, I look under the name that I saved it under, which is ground beef sirloin 90%. That was the name that I chose. And put in that I ate 6 ounces of it and then add that in because that's essentially what I'm going to be doing. You know, that's the exact amount that I'm putting in here. So if I add that in real quick, boom. So again, we can look here and we can see so far that I've added in the 1 slice of cheese and then the ground beef sirloin, which is what I added in on my own. All right. So from here at this point, the next thing that I'm going to do is add a little bit of Country Bob's. It's a barbecue sauce that I just like to use. I use very little, but it does add up in calories. So at this point, I'm going to move the camera down and we're going to start show you a little bit on how I use my scale and the best ways to get use of it, in my opinion. So if we come down to the scale, the first thing that you want to do is if you put something on the scale and then turn the scale on, it'll automatically zero everything out. It'll show that it's got a 0 amount. You should be able to see that on there. It shows that it's got a 0 amount. So whenever I pick this up, it says based on ounces, that's 3.5 ounces. So I'm actually going to move this over unit wise to grams instead of ounces because this weighs very, very little. So I need to measure it in grams instead. But what I'm going to do is right now it's saying this bottle sitting on here without the cap is weighs 0 grams. So what I'm going to do is just pick this up and I've got it set on 0 and I'm going to pour a little bit of this on my burger because I'm going to eat that on top of it. And then whenever I sit this back on top of it, it's now going to say, it says negative 11 grams. So at this point, that means I have used 11 grams weight-wise of this Country Bob's sauce. So that's what makes it real nice about using anything like this with a scale. All I had to do was sit this on the scale and zero it out, pour out whatever I used and sit it back on there and it'll tell me exactly how much of it I used. So at that point, since I've used 11 grams of the Country Bob's, all I need to do is reopen up my app again. So I'll pull my app right back up. I'll click add food. I'll click on my scanner. I'm now gonna have it scan Country Bob's. It automatically brings it up. It's being a little bit slow at the moment. Automatically brings it up. And again, you can change how you choose to measure it. So if I click, I can measure it by tablespoon, by the container, by grams, by ounces, whatever I choose. I'm actually going to measure this by grams specifically because I know that I just used 11 grams. So I'm going to put in the amount, 11 grams. That's only 15 calories, 3.7 carbs. It's not adding a ton, but if you do that several times throughout the day, it all adds up. So now I'm going to add my serving into that. So that's going to add that directly into what I'm eating. All right. So now we've got my burger is already added in there. The cheese is added in there. The barbecue sauce that I had is added in there. So the only thing left I have to do is I'm also going to have some watermelon with this. So I want to weigh out the watermelon and add it in there as well. So as I just mentioned, the next thing that I'm going to be adding in is going to be the watermelon. That's the last thing that I have. So what I'm going to do is take my plate and sit it directly on top of the scale. So that way when I turn the scale on, it'll be zeroed out with the plate. So that way whenever I'm adding my watermelon on top of it, it's not already figuring in the weight of the plate. Because I don't want to say that I'm eating the weight of the plate in watermelon as well, because I'm not eating that, all right? So I want to make sure that I put the plate on there before I turn it on, and then I'll add my watermelon to it. All right, so at this point, I'll show you. We'll bring this back down to where you can see the scale in my watermelon. So if I pull this back just a little bit, hopefully you can see the numbers on there, okay? Turn that on, it's going to be zeroed out. I'm weighing everything out overall in ounces, because that's how I'm choosing to measure the watermelon. So I already know beforehand that I want to eat somewhere around 10 or 11 ounces of watermelon because I've already planned out a lot of how much I need of everything. So I'm just slowly sitting some watermelon on top of it until I reach approximately where I want to be. This would have been a lot easier if I would have grabbed a fork beforehand, but that's okay. You work with what you got. So I'm up to 8.3 ounces so far, 9.15, 9.7, and throw that on there. Boom. 10.25. All right, so now that I've got that, I have 10.25 ounces of watermelon. That's the total amount that I've got. So I'm gonna go back to my app. Now the thing with most fruits, they're not gonna have anything on there that's scannable. They're not gonna have you know, numbers that you can put in automatically. So at this point, for those types of foods, whenever you go to add them in, you're just gonna do a general search. So I'm gonna add the food, I'm just gonna type in watermelon. Once I type in watermelon, there's multiple different options. Like there's a fresh option, a few other things. So I'm eating watermelon, it's fresh because I cut it up myself yesterday. So at that point in time, it brings up, you know, how do I want to weigh it? Am I putting in grams? Am I putting in ounces? Well, I measured it by ounces, and then I'm going to put in the amount that I just had, which was just over 10 ounces, and I'm going to click Add Serving. So now that I've done that, I've got everything listed out, and at that point, if I choose to open everything up, I can take a look at just that meal. So far, it means I've had 38.8 grams of protein, 25.6 grams of carbs, and 22.9 grams of fat in this meal specifically. And I'm just going to be drinking it with some tea that I made myself that doesn't have any calories, so I'm not going to add that in myself. But essentially, the process is a lot quicker than this. I went a little slow just to make sure everything was real clear. Easiest way to do it. But that's the best way to be accurate because I'm weighing out exactly how much of all my food is in there. Do it with your breakfast, your lunch, your snacks. And then if there's certain meals that you eat a lot of, like this is a meal that I eat pretty regularly, I actually went in and created a meal specifically for this that already has everything added into it, and then I just make sure to measure it out the exact same every time, and then I only have to put in one thing in the phone, which makes it real simple. But I hope this video has helped, and I hope that it allows you to be a little bit more specific at counting your macronutrients.